folks, and welcome to Subjective Thoughts. And our comic for today is 30 Days of Night, Volume 1 by IDW. Now, there is violence, killing, blood, an explosion, fire, shooting, a massacre, vampires, limb tearing, and more blood in this one. So if you are in any way squeamish, you have been warned. Also, spoilers. Alright, here's the team. So, I have known of 30 Days of Night, but of the movie. I didn't know that it was originally based on a mini-comic series. I never really saw the movie. I think I saw maybe parts of it one time on TV. Maybe? I don't remember, but yeah, I had no idea it was based on a comic. And then the leader asked me if I wanted to read this one. He dug up this trade paperback. The first one, I was like, hey, I like vampires. Let's give it a go. And then I learned all of this. So that was interesting. There's a long line of trade paperbacks. There's a lot more to the story. But yeah, let's get started. So obviously I'm sure the movie's a little bit different. I would think. Anyway, the story here where there's a town in Alaska called Burrow. Burrow? I don't know how to pronounce the name, honestly. I think it's Burrow, Alaska. I think. Okay. Barrow, Alaska. Okay. And it's 2001 in the time of the story. So it's this town, and it has, the way with the sun, so they basically have a whole month where there's no sun. It's going to be dark. And something seems to be happening around the town for a few days. For instance, when we start the story, we see the sheriff, Eben, driving over to his wife. She's the other sheriff. About the sheriffs of Barrow. A lot of people had their cell phones stolen, and she found them. Someone took them outside of the town and burned them all in a pile. So I'm wondering what the hell's going on. And what's going on is that a bunch of vampires have, learned about this town or whatever, and have thought, oh, perfect, a whole place to feed where we don't have to fear the sun. So they've done all their arrangements. They had someone go into town for them. And they've also went and destroyed where the power comes from and communications. So they can't communicate with anyone outside, and there's no electricity. And also, while this is happening, we go to New Orleans. A man who's a drug addict goes to some house, is let in by a man named Tyler, a black gentleman, and his mother, who looks like one of those voodoo ladies. Anyway, he monitored the mail for her, and she was looking for some information. He gives her the prints. So someone by the name of Marlowe is talking to someone about Barrow to go in there, and to go there, and invites him to come. So then she's like, okay, we have confirmation. And she needs Tyler's her son. She needs him to go there and get proof. Proof of vampires. So she's been looking for that for a long time. So, back in Barrow, the sheriff and his wife, right after they watched the sunset for the last time, for a whole month, are actually a really cute couple. They go to town to, a diner or something. It was a sort of a diner. They're called there because a man that's not from town, which is also something they wanted to check before someone new came in. They go there, and this man has been demanding raw meat and alcohol. But alcohol is prohibited in Barrow because everything's already icy. Imagine a drunk driver with all that. So he gets, aggressive. And Stella, the other sheriff, the Evan's wife, holds a gun to his head from behind, like, you're coming with us, buddy. So they take him to the sheriff's department for custody. While this is happening, you got another man, Gus, was it? He goes in to check what's up with the electricity and communication, and comes across vampires. They've arrived and they kill him and destroy it. Among them is Marlowe. They kill the man and destroy the power station, I think it was. And so while the other man, the stranger's in custody, the electricity goes out. And Stella's like, maybe Gus fell asleep, give it a few minutes. And the man that's in the cell starts laughing. And he says, that's it, you're all doomed. And he starts bending the bars and opening them. They're like, what the fuck? Obviously, they're both shocked. Like, what the hell's going on? But Evan pulls out his gun and shoots him. And he falls. And they approach him and they're like, is he dead? And then Stella pulls out her gun and just shoots him a few more times. My kind of lady. And she's like, now he's dead. So this man was already, I guess, turned or starting to turn into a vampire. So he's like a newborn vampire. And anyway, then all hell breaks loose. Holy shit. Communication's down, electricity's down, the vampires have arrived, and then hell begins. I don't know how much time passes, but it looks like it does go through the course of the month. The vampires are just ravaging. They're killing people left and right, drinking their blood, enjoying themselves, creating a massacre. But they make sure not to turn anyone, so they cut off their heads. There's all sorts of vampires there. There's even one little girl vampire. And it's hell there for quite a while. There are some survivors, and they are hiding in basements. Among them are the sheriff and his wife. They're hiding with another group. Because of the cold, the vampires can't smell them easily. So they don't know where they are until they actually find them. And again, it looks like a few weeks have passed and they don't know what to do. They need food, they need medicine. They can't really go out because if they're captured by one of these fuckers, they're done for. But the sheriff, Eben, risks it and goes up back to the sheriff's department and gets whatever he can find there, like food and medicine. He comes across one of the vampires, and he shoots him and hits him. It doesn't kill him, but he manages to escape. On the way, he sees the little girl vampire. She's feeding on an old fat man. Poor bastard. He's already dead. And she's like, I'm done playing with this nice man. Do you want to play with me? But Eben runs. He goes back and they're wondering, why did we... sorry. Why did we manage to kill that guy, the first vampire, and we can't seem to do anything against these ones? I think it's probably because that one was still turning, maybe, and they shot the head and took it off. So it's like in this version, you have to get them in the head. Tear off the head. So they're like, well, what do we do? But then, another vampire arrives. I think his name is Victor. Was it Victor? He's a very ancient vampire. It's, like this big shot guy. He comes in with a bitch on each hand. Like, I've arrived. And then they all respect him. And Marlo, approaches and kisses his hand. And you see, I invited you. And are you impressed? And look, here we can feed. And we don't have to be worried about time. The sun, we can go wild here. And we made sure not to turn anyone. And then this guy, was it Victor? Let me just check. I could be wrong. It's not Victor. Let's see. Just to be sure. Where is it? Wait, let me see if I can find his name. Ah, there he is. Did they say his name? Come on, where is it? Ah, fuck it. I can't find it. I'm not gonna... Ah, Vincent, sorry. Vincent, not Victor. Yep. Yeah, Vincent. So yeah, then Vincent tells him, because he asks him, are you happy? And he's like, not so happy as impressed with your stupidity.
You are made of stupid.
And he's so angry, because he says, it took us thousands of years to make people believe that we are a myth. So we can walk among them and they won't believe that we're vampires. And you just destroyed that with your greed. I came here hoping I would stop you in time, but it looks like I'm too late. And then Marlo gets angry. He's like, who do you think you are? And he jumps him. But, of course, Vincent just fucking kills him. He rips his head off. And then he stomps on his head, killing him. Now, meanwhile, Eben and Stella see and hear all this. And then Stella pulls Eben like, we got hot before they notice us. So yeah, this is not any better. Because what Vincent wants them to do is, he wants them to burn the whole town, find the survivors that are hiding, kill them, drain them if the vampires want to, but they have to make it look like the whole town burned. Now, before all that, we see Tyler, arriving to Alaska. Sorry. I think I'm still a little sick. Getting to Alaska, he talked beforehand with the man on the phone to have him helicopter him to Barrow. But because of how the weather changed, he refuses to. But Tyler gives him $5,000, and tells him 5 now and 5 later. And the man's like, oh, you have all the licenses and all that, yeah? He's like, yeah, it looks like you're making a pretty penny here. So that's it, he flies. So while everyone's hiding, still, and the vampires are starting to come through town and starting fires, Tyler flies closer. His mom needs him to send her pictures. There's a live feed, and he needs to capture all this so they'll have proof of the vampires. So he flies closer and he sees all this and he films it. He's like, Mom, are you seeing this? So before he left, his mom gave him a lot of weapons, but also a gun. a small one, to shoot himself, so if in case they bite him, he becomes a vampire. He's like, don't worry, Mom, I'll come back. Famous last words. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, he flies closer, but he's noticed by the vampires. And Vincent sees him, and he jumps up a building, and he jumps on the helicopter. Things don't look good. He's trying to break into the helicopter. But Tyler manages to send the photos before anything can happen to his mother. He's sending them now. It's not clear if they arrived, but I think maybe they did. And so he's sending them, but unfortunately he dies because Vincent crashes the helicopter, jumps out of it, and now he says, great, now we have a cause. And the people with the sheriff that are hiding, at first they think, oh, a helicopter, they're going to see this and send help. But they don't know that Tyler was never going to help them. It was just there to gather the evidence and leave. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So then they're like, we got to do something. They'll find us soon. Now, back in the basement, one of the other survivors with the sheriffs, he got scratched by a vampire while going out to look for his girlfriend. And he's starting to turn. You know, he's sick, Stella's dabbing in his forehead, and then he changes. He changes into a vampire and then says, you will not survive, we'll find you and we'll drain you. And he jumps on the ceiling like Spider-Man, starts to crawl away, and Stella's like, we gotta capture him. If he goes out there, they'll find us. But Eben takes he has, an axe, and he hits him. I think he manages to decapitate him. Then he takes a syringe and takes his blood. And Stella's like, what are you going to do with that? And he's like, I'm not sure yet. And then, of course, everything happens with the helicopter, and they gotta do something. So then, Eben does the only thing that gives them any hope. He takes the blood and shoots him, and he uses the syringe to inject himself with the vampire blood. Stella tries beforehand to convince him not to do it, but it's like it's our only hope. And he turns into a vampire. But unlike that other guy, he doesn't immediately start talking about, sorry. He doesn't start talking about, killing them. He runs out of the basement and goes to face the vampires. Vincent is talking to one of his bitches, saying, get all the survivors, clean this up. Oh, and then they pull out two little children that were hiding. Vincent's looking them up and says, I'll have both of them. But then behind the vampires, Eben appears and says, if you want to bite someone, bite me. And of course, Vincent's, smirking, like, you think you can face me off? And yeah, he can't, so they start fighting. And all the vampires around are laughing, like, what are you gonna do, new blood? Woo, if only they knew. So Vincent and Eben start fighting, and Eben defeats him. He manages to rip his head off, and he kills him. And then he kills the vampire with the glasses, the one that almost caught him back when he went to get food and medicine. Because he gets the rhythm of how to, work his new vampiric body. And then they stop laughing. And after he kills Vincent, he gives hope and courage to the rest of the survivors. And they come out, and Vincent's looking at them and like, get the hell out of my town. And they leave. Because the sun is also supposed to rise soon. In a day or so. Well, they all leave. Evan thinks of going after them, but there's no point. Estella tells them the sun's supposed to rise. So hopefully a lot of them didn't make it to hiding. So then we get to the last bit of the story. Evan and Stella sit again outside the outskirts of the town. And Stella's trying to convince him, you could still live, just live like this. You can hide, but Evan doesn't want to be a vampire. Because he doesn't want to lose this feeling of loving Stella. Because as he fights Vincent, he tells him, well, it feels like shit being a vampire. So, as he tells that to Stella, they both cry, and he kisses her. And then the sun goes up. And when Stella opens her eyes, Evan is gone. He turned to dust from the sun. And like right next to her are his clothes. And she puts her head in her lap and cries. And that's where that ends. And also after that, because this is a trade paperback, there's a bit of like the next the next trade. Okay, so first cover. I really love this cover. It's nice and creepy. They got the vampire there, and the red mouth, and the sewing on either side. I think that looks really fucking cool. I'm sorry. Apologize for my voice in this one. And that cold won't leave me yet. Okay, so this is the art style. I won't show you everything, obviously. But that's one of the strong suits of this comic. The art style really adds to the creepiness of the vampires, to the atmosphere of the story. You see, there's Evan and there's Stella. It just really, really adds to it. Makes everything look really cool. Oh, there's the voodoo lady. That's her son, Tyler. You see, that's the vampire, the one sent into town. That's Marlowe. Oh yeah, and I forgot, you have Stella and Evan seeing the vampires arrive into town. And Marlowe saying they're not bother with them, they'll catch them later. Look at that, it just looks so cool. And the massacre, oh shit. And the massacre begins. Great colors too, they also add a lot to the atmosphere. Okay, let me show you one more. Just look at that, look at this massacre. Okay, now for the story. This is a great story. This first one, I mean, it's not so long. It's very impactful. I really, from the start, liked Evan and Stella. They seem like a really great couple. And there's this whole concept of vampires, fighting in a small town. where for a whole month the sun just sets, and they can essentially walk freely and not have to worry. And Marvel comes up with this plan to go there and just drain all the humans. As the more they drink, the stronger they get. And just how evil all this is and how he's going to terrorize the whole town. But he really didn't think of the consequences. Because, okay, they were going to drain everyone, and then what? Just make it look like the whole town burned? It's like this one-time thing they can do. I mean, to begin with, not a lot of people are going to move to live in Barrow. So what was his plan later on, which is, you can understand Vincent calling him a fucking idiot, because he is. There's the whole concept, of how terrifying it would be and how it's a vampire's basically dream. And it's just so cool. And how contained it is, because here you have this little town, and what are you going to do? You have a month, and people don't even, they wouldn't even believe in vampires. And how do you do, and how do you survive? But then also it helps with the cold, because they can't smell you. They can't sense you so easily, so you can't hide. It's so cool. You see here, it's not a stake to the heart, it seems. It's ripping off the head that does the trick here. Every vampire story seems to be different. They're affected by different things. And Abbott was just also such a character where he realizes, if I turn into one, because he tells Stella, the only thing that we saw that managed to kill one of these things is one of these things. So he sacrifices himself to save the remaining survivors. He becomes a vampire, and his will is so strong that he doesn't become like the rest of them. And then he kills Vincent and saves what remains of the town. And then, in the end, he doesn't want to stay a vampire. He doesn't want to become one of these things, and basically he spends his last remaining moments with Stella as the sun takes him. It was such a beautiful and sad moment. As they're kissing, one last kiss, and they're both crying. And then the next instant, Stella opens her eyes, and Eben is gone forever. Just beautiful. And again, the beauty of the simplicity of it, too. It's not some vampire hunter. It's just a sheriff who already, took the job to protect people. And protecting them however he can. So that was great. I can see why they decided to make a movie about it. One hell of a great story. I definitely would like to, in the future, continue and read the rest of these, see where it goes. As I really like this universe and the concepts. So yeah, this was a really good vampire story. Well, that's it. If you like vampire stories, or if you watch the movie, I highly recommend the comic. Or if you just like vampire stories too, I think you'll find this one very interesting. It's a nice, sweet, short read. Alright, folks, so that is it. Let me know if you read 30 Days of Night, and what did you think about it? And that is it. Remember, collect what you're passionate about and share it on YouTube. Bye!